the question that I have, will the legacy of Barack Obama be one of conservatism? You know, I talked in my last video about how one thing that brought Bernie Sanders to prominence within the last few years was his filibustering of the continuation of the Bush tax cuts. Now, Bernie's political career goes way back. His activism in the 60s, his time as mayor of Burlington, Vermont in the 80s, his time in the U.S. House of Representatives, his time as a U.S. Senator, and now his attempt to become President of the United States. But in 2010, Obama did continue the Bush tax cuts that were already in existence. Bernie protested, Bernie contested, and Bernie filibustered. And you know, there are books released of the different speeches involved, and it was a brilliant time. And so you have that. You have more troops being sent to Afghanistan under Obama. You have the only, you know, a limited level of leftness that he was willing to go. He had big donors, big backers, kind of like a Hillary. And here's the thing with Barack Obama that I think is very true. His legacy will be two things. That's gay rights, as far as domestic, social, and fiscal issues. Two big parts of his legacy. Gay rights, which is fine. But I think that was going to happen with or without him. He urged it. He really didn't pass anything. No legislation. Most everything went through the courts that you think of as far as big decisions in 2013 with the Federal Defense of Marriage Act being turned down. Excuse me. That was a Supreme Court decision. Supreme Court decision, Obergefell versus Hedges in 2015, legalized gay marriage in every state. So a lot of this had nothing to do with him. And then fiscally, you look at the Affordable Care Act. Now, what was that? It was the idea that more subsidies are available. Some states have their own expressions, Kentucky being a prime example. And so you'll have a situation where you have the overarching Affordable Care Act. As I say, some states have their own expressions. Other states chose not to be involved in that, and as a result of the Supreme Court ruling in 2015, federal subsidies still available for those states. You have just an overall extension of subsidies, so in a way, an overall extension of Medicaid or help, but people are still having to pay out of pocket, and they're forced to buy a private product. And so, you know, I could respect the libertarian or anarcho-capitalist view that this should be totally privatized, and definitely respect Sanders and somebody on the further left or far, far left say totally go with the European-Canadian style of socialized medicine. But with what you have here, you do extend the subsidies, and those sorts of things are happening, which are positive to some degree, but folks are still mandated to buy health care. The folks at the very bottom are assisted. Folks at the very top probably don't mind. The folks in the middle who don't really have a lot of funding, and even with the subsidies, it's still going to be a shot to them to have to purchase this, and yet there are going to be fines and problems and penalties if they do not purchase the health care. It's been spoken of before that private insurance companies are making a killing off of this. I just don't see how it's very left. I mean, it almost seems like crony capitalism when it's forceful, but the companies are still private and they're still making a lot. It seems like Obama's legacy is going to be one of capitalism and conservatism. And if Clinton wins in 2016, you'll have at least 12 years, maybe 16 years of it.